So I know you've been wondering, Sly, what the hell have you been watching this week? Well, here we go. Alright, so the first film that I watched last week was a Japanese supernatural horror film from the 70s called House. And in this film, it is about a young girl who discovers that her widowed father is engaged to marry somebody else. And she's upset by this and decides to kind of escape to her aunt's home in the middle of the country with a group of her friends, only to find out that this house is haunted and there's a lot of supernatural events going on there. And so this film is absolutely bonkers. The story is nuts. The special effects are crazy, and like you could argue that everything in this film is hasn't aged well, but it all adds to the charm. So I don't know. It's one that I really enjoyed. I gave this one a 4.5 out of 5, and an add to your collection title. And yeah, definitely not for everybody. Again, a lot of people will probably cringe at some of the effects and stuff in this film, but to me, it just adds to its charm. It's one that I'd like to rewatch again over and over. So yeah, that's my first one that I watched last week. It was House. The second film that I watched is another film that probably is not for everybody, but I enjoyed it a lot. A film called Frankenhooker. This is a rewatch for me, and my rating has not changed at all. I gave it a solid flick, a 4 out of 5. And this film is about a guy who his invention, a homemade lawnmower, accidentally kills his fiance. So he's able to collect some of her body parts after the massacre, her head, and some bits and pieces, and decides to go out into the world, find the perfect parts, and make himself like a Frankenstein girlfriend. And from Frank Henlotter, the guy who brought you Brain Damage and Basket Case. So very much in that same style, same B horror like feel to it. But I thought the comedy was very enjoyable, so I gave that one a 4 out of 5. And last week I also watched a film from the 1960s, a film called The Snake Woman. And in this film, it is about a doctor who's trying to treat his wife who has some sort of mental illness. And he's treating her by injecting her with kind of a non-lethal dose of snake venom. And it actually works. She's coherent when she goes through this process, but his wife is actually pregnant, and injecting her with snake venom has altered the baby, the unborn baby, turning her kind of into kind of a reptilian, half-human hybrid. She looks human, but it's cold-blooded, and she doesn't blink, because she's kind of snake-like in that way. But this one I gave a 2 out of 5. That's a hard pass for me. I'm probably not going to watch this one again. A lot of the plot elements were kind of nonsensical to a point where it frustrated me a little bit. And just a small example is right in the opening is when the villagers are deciding to kind of storm the doctor's house and stop the experiments there. And there's the one cop in the town who's supposed to protect people and enforce law and order, and he's all for it. He's in that rabble crowd. So just stuff like that, it doesn't really make sense to me, and it kind of killed my enjoyment a little bit. But yeah, this is The Snake Woman, one that I'm probably not going to revisit. Okay, last week I was also able to finally catch Becky, starring Kevin James as the main antagonist. It's one that I've been looking forward to watching for a while. It's got some East Coast elements to it, with the inclusion of Robert Maillet, the actor in the role of Apex, one of the kind of the bad guys in the film. And one of the writers is also from Nova Scotia. So yeah, one that I was highly kind of highly anticipated. I've been reading mixed reviews, but I was looking forward to seeing it for myself and making up my own mind on it. So in this film, we've got the character of Becky, whose mother had died, and so her father brings her to later brings her to their family cottage, where they meet up with his girlfriend and her son and announce that she is engaged, or they announce that they're engaged to get married, and Becky kind of runs off into the woods to her little treehouse. All the while, a group of white supremacist uh, people come over. It's kind of like a home invasion in that regard. They go in and cause some havoc, and Becky goes ballistic and kind of goes on a little killing rampage of her own. So this film is okay. I gave it a soft pass, a 3 out of 5. I really enjoyed the kills in this film. The gore and the gore scenes and the kills were really well done. That was probably the highlight of this film. And if I were to ever rewatch it again, that would be the element that kind of convinces me to do so. If you're really into cool kills and nice gore, and eye mutilation, if you have a certain affinity to that, definitely give this film a watch. You might enjoy it a lot more than me. There are some story elements that I didn't really enjoy in this one, and the dialogue as well I thought was watered down and at times cringy. So yeah, there's that's why I thought it was just okay. Maybe one that I'd revisit in the future, but in no rush to. So that's Becky, soft pass for me. Another film from the 60s, Werewolf in a Girl's Dormitory. I gave this one 1.5. It's a shitty flick. And so much so that I'm blanking on its plot. It takes place in a girls' kind of detention center in the middle of the woods, and they get a new teacher, and soon after, one of the students ends up killed, and some of the other students or whatever, they start their own investigation, suspecting some sort of wolf-like creature being the culprit of the murder and the other murders that are continuing to happen. Yeah. The biggest complaint that this film gets is its really crappy dub job, where it's an Italian flick, understandably, so it's not the first time you see bad dubbings in a foreign, especially Italian films, but that didn't break the film for me, because I'm used to that watching Italian films, but the nonsensical plot elements again were kind of its downfall for me, in just weird direction. Yeah, for example, there's a part where this guy goes into the girl's kind of bedroom, where it's kind of a shared bedroom. You got a bunch of the students there, and he's there to get a letter or something, and he's about to get discovered by the girl he's stealing from, and he decides to kill her. All the while this is happening, everybody in the room is sleeping, and then once it's done, everybody wakes up simultaneously, shouting and screaming. It's no sense. Another part is that the first murder, the werewolf murders by choking his victims. Right? It's just mean looking, snarling, but he grabs them by the throat and just throttles them until they die. So they discover the body, and they're like, yes, this looks like it was the doing of a wolf. Yes, because wolves choke people to death. Yeah, definitely. And what else? The werewolf looks weird. The werewolf this is, 2 decades after Wolfman, and Wolfman looks so much better than this werewolf does. But man, oh man, rough getting through this one. I gave it some points because I do have a fondness of that creature, the werewolf, so I got an extra half point maybe for that alone. So yeah, that was Werewolf in a Girl's Dormitory. And finally, my last entry for the week, and this is actually just a quick rating of a TV series that I've finished. I'm not gonna mention every time I watch an episode of a TV show, but I will say it, and I will talk about it once I've watched the last episode of a series. So me and Stephanie watched Todd and the Book of Pure Evil, the TV show on Shudder, and this is it's a show about some high school students in this kind of weird school run by, well, it's not run by Satanists. It used to be, maybe. And but some of the staff, one in particular, is a Satanist, and he's part of a satanic cult who are hell-bent on finding this book of pure evil, which can bring about, the end of the world, give its wielder some special powers. And this book is discovered by Todd, our protagonist, and he has it for a brief period in the first episode, and then loses it. And then every subsequent episode after that, it's him and his friends who are trying to find it. Usually other student in the school finds it, and they've been granted some sort of power that goes out of control and runs amok within the school, and their group is trying to kind of bring that down and find the book, that kind of thing. So kind of repetitive in that sense, where every episode is kind of follows that formula, but I thought it was a lot of fun. I think it probably isn't for everybody. It's a lot of pee humor, that kind of stuff. It sounds a lot of sex jokes. It's like I've read that people think that they feel like it was written by like high school students, right? But I enjoy that kind of humor, and so did my wife. So I gave it a 4 out of 5. I think it's a solid series, up to a point. I think maybe midway. There's 2 seasons. Maybe midway through the second season, I think there's quite a significant drop in quality of the storytelling and even like the directing and stuff like that. But I heard that the animated movie that came out following the series is very, very good, and wraps up the story very well. So looking forward to checking that out one day. But has a TV show on itself, solid season and a half, and then it kind of drops there at the end. But I still gave it a 4 out of 5 because I really enjoyed the early episodes in the show. And that is it for last week. So, what have you guys been watching? Let me know if you recommend any films that have come out recently, and I will hit you up again with another top 13 at the end of the week. And yeah, we'll keep going from there. So have an awesome week, guys. See you later.